guys. Welcome to Club 30. I'm your host, Henrik Lundqvist. I'm sitting here with my good old friend, Jay Lidell.
Hey, Hank. What a banger of an episode this is.
We're starting off strong.
Yeah,
First episode, Club 30 with Eli Manning.
So excited for our club members to listen to this one.
So, you know what? Podcast. Maybe not my strongest
Our
area.
strongest. Yep, first timers.
We're rookies. But, the reason why we sit here with my new role at Madison Square Garden, I get an opportunity to work in a lot of different areas within sports and music, entertainment, media. So the question came up about hosting a podcast, and wasn't convinced right away. But then I started to think about the opportunity that lays here, to bring you on as a co-host, and then to invite guests that could teach us something. And they all have interesting stories that we could talk about. And to me, New York City is all about stories and people coming together and learn and grow, right? So I feel really excited about this project.
Absolutely, me too.
So for you listeners out there, Henrik Lundqvist, that's my name. I played for the Rangers for 15 years. I'm born and raised in Sweden. I moved to New York City back in 2005. I lived my dream, really, get to play for the New York Rangers for that long, and I loved every minute of it. That's me, Jay. Who are you?
Jay Lidell, transplanted Canadian. I grew up in a small farm town outside of Toronto, Ontario. I moved down to the States for college. I was an athlete in college and a little bit beyond. I was a rower. And after my rowing career ended, I thought back to all those days on the weekends when my teammates and I would come into New York City on New Jersey Transit, just for a night. And I remember just always thinking, one time in my life, I'm going to live in New York City. Maybe not for a long time, but I got to check that box. And it was really not because I wanted to work in a specific industry, but because I wanted that combination of music, energy, food, people, felt like this intoxicating mix and a long way removed from farm life, right? And now I'm an entrepreneur. I run a business that equips leaders with tools to grow and evolve in their careers, primarily through coaching and assessments. I'm lucky enough to do it with one of our other best friends, and that has really defined my New York existence for the last 10 years. Being an entrepreneur here, being your own boss is amazing. There's a lot of lessons that I think you will soon discover when you're your own boss in this next chapter, and so that's why we have lots to talk about all the time.
It's funny, for such a long time, I would say 20 years, I was always interviewed.
Right.
People were asking me questions, and now I'm sitting here on the other side of things asking questions, and it will be a new experience for sure. So as a listener, be patient with our process of getting to where we want to be. But hopefully you feel the same way. It's a process to get where you want to be, right? That being said, first guest, Eli Manning. I mean, we played in the same city for almost 15 years. And he's a guy that had an amazing career. I feel like this guy, so classy on the field, off the field, great teammate. But it's also interesting to see where he is now. And, I want to know about that. Like next chapter, we're kind of in the same boat here. After so many years playing here, starting a new career, where do you go? What's important?
All right, guys. Club 30 members, without further ado,
here we go. The first conversation at Club 30 with Eli Manning.
Let's go.
He's a two-time Super Bowl champ. He's a committed hockey dad. And when he doesn't want people to bother him, he goes under the name of Chad Powers.
Got me figured out.
Welcome to Club 30.
Thank you.
Giants
welcome.
legend.
This is awesome.
Eli Manning.
Thank you so much. It's I'm excited to be on with you and hang out.
Hang out, yeah. You know what? I've been thinking about something. We played sports in the same city for 15 years.
Yeah.
And I can't recall running into you at all. And now, for the last 2 years, since I retired, I keep bumping into at charity events, meetings. So I need to figure out, is it my schedule that changed? Is it your schedule?
Yeah, I think it's just the opposite, like football and hockey, kind of opposite seasons. And we're just busy. Once you're in season, you're not getting out a whole lot. And so I think now that we're both retired, but I played our whole career in New York, we've made it our home. We're living here. We're out in whether it's the charity circuit or the business circuit, that we're running into each other now.
So it's not the fact that you're spending more time in the city now. It hasn't changed.
I don't think it's changed. I mean, I was always at like Level V and Butter and Tin June. Were you there?
was there.
I was there Monday nights. You must have been there like on Tuesday nights. We had the different days off in season, I guess.
You think more about time now
Yeah.
than when you played?
Yeah, I think I definitely think more about time now. It's like the schedule is, I used to have my, when I was playing, I had like a calendar like on the desk that I like wrote things when I had something. And there was basically like one thing a week written in there because everything else was just, I was at the stadium or at the practice facility from 7 to 5 or 6 p.m. almost every night. I knew Friday I was going to basically get home around 3 o'clock. I was going to maybe go out to dinner with the wife, eat, very just something low key and easy. But I feel like since I retired, my kids have gotten older and they make friends. They have like their own social life. We've made more friends through our kids. And now like Friday nights, you're getting asked to dinner. Saturday night, it's like there's too much going on. Like we needed to step back and like remember when we just hung out on Friday nights. It was just like me and you. Saturday we did nothing. I stayed in a hotel. Like it was nice, like to just have like this easy 6 months where there was no scheduling.
We always joked about it too on the team. Like you don't really have to think. When you're a professional athlete, all your focus and energy is going to your craft, to your training, preparation, but everything around you is taken care of.
Yeah.
Right.
And then when you walk out the door and it's up to you now to plan this. And back to time, like how do you prioritize your time? What's important? So I guess now we're both retired. Like what is important? Like, is it important to you to achieve something new? Or is it just having fun?
I think there's a number of things. I think, I definitely, enjoy learning new things. And like, when I retired from football, I said I was going to take a year off. I wasn't going to do anything. I wasn't going to make any decisions and just talk to a ton of people in all different worlds, finance to the TV world and just try to figure out like what would I enjoy doing. I thought the biggest mistake I could ever make was all of a sudden 3 months after playing this game for 16 years all of a sudden be doing something and realize like I'm miserable doing this. I don't enjoy it. I don't like it, and I'm stuck doing it for a long period of time. So I just said I'm just going to be patient and make sure whatever I'm doing I enjoy it. I enjoy the work, and there is some sort of, I don't know, I guess I enjoy being, kind of that uncomfortable situation where I can learn. I can be kind of at the low end and I have somewhere to build up.
The beginner's mind.
Yeah, the beginner's mind. And but make sure you on that, you want to make sure you're with people that you trust and that are going to help you grow. And it's something you're truly interested in where you want to put the time in.
Yeah.
But to me, when I played, we were so much focused on result and achieving. And now I feel like it's more about the journey, having fun, having great people around me. And do you feel like your focus shifted a little bit when you were done playing, that it's more about how you spend your time and again, having fun?
I think it's having fun. I think surrounding yourself with people you want to be around is a big deal. And like you said, we're in such a high profile job, and so much is built on like success. And with sports, it's really, hey, you can have good years, you make the playoffs and it's a good year, but it's really, hey, it's a championship or it's kind of a bust.
Right.
And there is some in between there, but I think now there's just about, that just feeling good about what you're doing, the impact you're making, whether it's, through charitable things, through business, helping people, doing good things, being a great parent, being a great husband, being around more. So I think, the good thing about retirement is, even though you can have times where you're busy, you do get to dictate your schedule a little bit. You can say no. You can say, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I got something important. Where when sports, for those 7 months, there was no saying no. There was no calling in sick. There was no, I'm going to go do this instead. Hey, I'm just going to call in and cancel these meetings. Like, there was none of that. You were so on. We're now just having that, time say, you know what, I'm taking this day off, or I'm taking these next 2 days off just because.
Are you better at being present now? Being in the moment?
I think it's a constant, work, and I need to be coached. My wife does a good job of coaching me and telling me if I'm just, at night, if I'm getting on my phone too much, and, just because like that's your work. Like, you can do everything from your phone and getting emails and people coming late, but there's nothing I have to answer at 6 p.m. that I can't answer at 9 p.m.
But for me, like, I do a lot of different things right now, and there's a lot of planning, but I feel like I'm so much better at being present right now, because when I played, there was so much focus on what's happening tomorrow, what just happened yesterday, constantly analyzing the game and the things we're going through as a team and personally. So I was thinking back. I spent so much time thinking about future and past instead of just being here and now. But I guess that's part of constantly pushing yourself, analyzing your game, and preparing. Yeah. But I feel like that was such a huge part of my life that I don't have now, where I can just be here.
100% agree. Just I think I definitely have an easier time shutting it off and putting everything away and just being totally present. At times, and you need it. You can't go, or like, you just can't go at that pace for that long without just getting burnt out, I believe.
But do you miss anything about not playing?
I think, you definitely miss, like, I do miss the structure a little bit at times, of just, so we talked about the scheduling. You definitely just miss like the locker room camaraderie. I mean, that's pretty special. And that's not, a lot of people obviously lose that when they're 18 years old and they don't continue to play in college, or they 21 if they don't become professional. But to have that until you're almost 40 years old, just with that group where it is fun, and there's a time where you're goofing off and you're playing pranks in the locker room, but you can hit the switch, and all of a sudden, hey, now we're competing, and now we're focused, now we're in meetings, and now we're getting ready to game time, and so just to have that back and forth, and you just build some great friendships and relationships. And the good thing about it is, because of those great relationships, you have them now, and you have those buddies that you can hang out with, that you can relive those moments. But I don't have any regrets, and I have all wonderful memories, and
is
those
there
are good to relive on.
You don't miss that you feel like, it's so nice not to have to deal with that right now?
Just pain. I don't,
physical and mental. Both physical?
Probably both. The physical, just waking up on a Monday morning, just curious, like, I wonder what's going to hurt today. Like, this first step, I took that hit in the third quarter. Like, my hip was a little sore last night. I wonder what it feels like now. Or just, thigh contusion, or, separated shoulders, and just all those things. You don't miss the pain. I don't miss losing also. Like, I mean, losing, it just takes a toll. Like we talked about a little bit of your attitude. We had a week to deal with a loss. I mean, it's a long time. I've always been envious of baseball guys, like, playing a doubleheader. You lose a game, let's just go play it again right now, and then you win that one, you feel great, right? It's like the last one didn't even happen. We have a whole week to analyze.
You might not have had a career had you.
I
might
once
have
a week. Ended really quick. Because, and I talked about this a lot, like in the locker room too. Could you imagine playing football? You lose, you have to go a full week thinking about that.
Yeah.
That's a long time to beat up yourself, and even preparation, not to try to do too much. But I felt that it was an advantage to try to the next 24 hours, try to get out of your system, and then you start preparing for the next one. You can allow yourself to spend too much time thinking about the next game or
well, think about dealing with the media for a week,
especially
in between games. And really, like, so it's really like 3 days where they get to talk about the previous game and then you move on. But 3 days is too long. Like I've watched it, I've put it behind me. They haven't. They still want to talk about it. Yeah. And
how does it feel today walking to MetLife Stadium? Like, you had probably a certain feeling going there when you played. What about today?
Today, I've enjoyed kind of the after football, going to the games. One, I get to, everyone, I'm taking some sort of family member. One of my kids is coming with me,
cool.
If not all 4.
That's great.
And so, get to experience that with them, see games. I always hear about fans and the relationship like a father has with their daughter, with their son, of going to games together, cheering for games together. And like, I want to create that with my kids. And so we had to go there and give high fives, especially, this year with the Giants was awesome. The last 2 years are weird because it was COVID and you weren't going to games. They weren't winning many games. And this year, I went in home games. We went over to London for the Giants games versus the Packers, which they won, and took all of my kids. And so I enjoy it. And I think it's easy for me to watch the games and cheer for them just because, I kind of, it was time to retire. I knew it was time to retire, and I got out, and I was at peace with it. Like, I knew I was done playing, and I knew there was no chance I was coming back out to play. But I think the people who get retired have a hard time watching the game, or they're bitter.
Yeah,
they're like, oh, I could keep playing. I could play better than that guy, and I never had that thought. Like, I don't care. I'm a fan, and I'm rooting for it. And I want them to win, and I'm just totally at peace with it.
But exactly that word, be in peace with it, and just try to be grateful for what you just experienced, right?
Right.
And I feel like walking into the Garden for me for 15 years, I was always nervous and excited, and I felt the pressure. There was definitely some anxiety in there as well. But now walking in, there's so much happiness and gratitude.
Yeah.
And sometimes I catch myself watching the game like, did I really used to do that? To me, it looks a lot harder now when I'm out of it. It's like, it's so fast. Wow, you can make that save or score that type of goal. But I remember even, when I was playing, I could stand by the glass and watch guys play. It always looked harder when you were watching it. But then when you were in it, somehow it just felt natural. But watching it sometimes, it always surprised me. Like, that looks hard.
Yeah. I see it with the hits now and watching football. I watch a football game and I'm like, oh, there's no way he's getting up from that. Like, oh, that's got to be a knee. That's got to be a back. Like, he's got to be injured. And they get up, and I guess that's, how it's time to be done playing, when the hits look harder and you're like, I cannot imagine being out there. That looks very painful.
But Hank, like what Eli said is, for the guys that get retired, it's harder. And you didn't arrive at the same conclusion, or at least at the same speed as Eli did, right? Like, you didn't want to retire. You were kind of made to retire.
Right.
Because of your heart. Like, you got to peace, but how did you get there?
Well, I think to me, in the end, I knew I had no choice. And honestly, I think that was a blessing. Because when you don't have a choice, I had to find that peace, and the sooner the better.
Right.
But if
you wanted to keep playing and no one wanted to have you,
sure, that's different.
It might be hard.
That would be more challenging.
It would be more challenging, right?
Or even, looking back at it now, I know for sure that I made the right decision. It took me quite some time to get back physically. So obviously, thinking back, it feels really good that I made the right decision, because I remember when I made that decision, it's like, should I wait it out? Should I try? Should I not? But looking back at the last year and a half, I know it was the right decision, right?
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, to me, going into the next chapter and the way you described it with finding peace and start to really enjoy it as a fan and bring in friends, family. It's a very cool experience. It really is. Bringing friends and family members to hockey games now, enjoy the Rangers or the Knicks or the Garden, the music stuff. And it's just also being able to be more present and not think about so much tomorrow or what just happened really helped me enjoy life a lot, which is very cool.
And would you say you're like a fan? Are you? I mean, when the games are going on, are you dialed into it? Are you doing your sponsors? Are you shaking hands and kissing babies and working the room, or are you dialed in?
You know what? I always been a fan of the game. I always enjoyed watching hockey. But in the past, I used to watch it to try to learn something.
Right.
Now I watch it just to appreciate the skill. I might watch a save and it's like, wow, he did it that way. But it used to be to learn something.
Right.
And now it's more about appreciate what they, in fact, are doing.
Yeah.
Could I have a break in the middle of a game talking to my kids or friends? Yeah, it happens. I'm not 100% locked in all the time.
No, understood.
It's just fun walking to the garden, and it sounds like you really enjoy walking to MetLife and thinking, because to me it brings up a lot of memories too.
Right.
Every time I walk in, there's like, you might see a photo or you might run into someone, and it brings you back 10 years, 15 years, and it's.
And the best part is we get to pick the memories we want to think about. Right? It's amazing how like you get to choose to think about the wins or the big saves or the coming together as a team and like those great moments, and like the tough moments you can just be like, oh, I know I've erased that one. That one doesn't exist anymore.
The human brain has this amazing ability to exclude hardship. Yeah, we can tell ourselves the best stories.
So I grew up in Sweden. Football is not very big there. When I moved here, I started watching football. I started watching the Giants, of course. And to me, the role of a quarterback really fascinated me. And I try to compare it to what I was doing. And I see a lot of similarities. I see differences as well. But to me, I broke down my game when I play. It was technical, physical, and mental.
Sure.
And to me, the mental aspect was by far the most important part. Because it was focus, it was making decision under pressure. Like when you broke down your game, was it similar? Was it physical, technical, mental? And how important was each part?
Yeah,
would you say?
I'd say they're very similar in that sense. And I think, the mental part of it is the quarterback is you have to know the responsibilities of everybody on the offense and what their job is. From the offensive line, who they're blocking, what their rules are. You set up a lot of the blocking game in the run and the pass based off your calls. You obviously have to know the receivers and what their routes are. You also have to know what the defense responsibility is, and based on their blitz or their coverage, what rules are and where you're going with the ball or what your check is and what runs are better. So there's a huge mental part of it, and each week that changes based off the defense you're playing,
right,
and or what certain plays or what your checks are to get the certain looks. So there's so much of that, and then obviously your technique and your form. And I think after each game, each play is graded. Mentally, did you run the right play? And then you look at, did you make the right decision on where you went the ball? And then, if you missed the throw, why did you miss the throw? Is it because of pass rush? Is it because your technique? Because your feet were not in sync, or is it a bad decision? I went to the wrong place. There's so much to analyze.
But when you play, were you really locked in mentally? Like, did you prepare a lot?
Oh yeah,
to get to that point.
100. Yeah, your preparation. You got to think about, each week we practice on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for, roughly 2 hours each day. So you're putting 6 hours of field work in, yet you're at the facility from 7, to 6 o'clock at night, most nights. And then at night I get home to dinner with the kids and then go study again by myself. So the amount of film watching a week by yourself, and with coaches, you're probably up to 24 hours a week of preparation, if not more. Maybe more, 30 hours a week for 6 hours of work for a 3-hour game,
right,
for 55 plays.
But something I always thought about watching the game, like you're out there, you're in it, and then suddenly you sit on the bench, and you don't know when you're coming back in, depending on how defense is playing. Like, what do you think when you're on the bench? Do you kind of check out and relax? to recharge, or are you trying to stay in that same focus? And
Yeah, I think you're staying in the focus. You're thinking about, all right, this is what they're doing. They've made some changes. They're running a different style, or they're playing more man versus zone. What plays do we need to get to? What plays should we be running? What are some checks? All right, now do I got to go tell the receivers an idea? Hey, this might be a check we're getting to. We didn't run it this week. We ran it last week, but it's in our system. I'm going to give you a heads up. We might be running this play. Think about your assignments. Or, hey, this guy, they're being aggressive. They're jumping things. Be ready for a double move check. So you're giving them little heads ups about what's going, through my mind. I'm talking with the offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, getting their thoughts and giving my thoughts as well. So you're constantly kind of, hey, this is what they're doing. This is how we're going to attack them now.
And watching too, like there's so much communication.
Sure.
So being a great quarterback, do you need to be a really good communicator? And do you need to be very comfortable talking in front of a big group?
Yeah. I think so. I mean, I think everybody, has their way. I think you have to be true to your own personality. Like I'm probably a little quieter of a person. I'm not a screamer. I'm not a yeller. If I have ideas, I can talk ball and I can express my ideas and get them across. But for me, like if a receiver, but you have to learn, you kind of got to learn each of your players. If like there's a receiver, and I would get more mad if a guy ran the wrong route or had a mental mistake than a physical mistake. The guy drops the ball. Like I know he's trying to catch the ball. Like I'm not going to go, rip him. I don't think it's going to be helpful unless he's one of those guys that like he needs someone to get on him a little bit, and all of a sudden that gets him focused. Or some guys, if you get on them, they just go further, into the tank. And so I think it's just learning. Yeah. You're kind of the CEO. You got to learn everybody's personality, who's doing well. But I think you do have to be able to, like, I used to have meetings with my receivers every Friday, and I'd make up my own clip about 15 plays to show them, like, hey, this is their defense. Here are some plays I'm thinking. Here's a check. And some of our plays, the receivers they had options. They could break in or out based off coverage or run a post off coverage. And so you wanted to show them those clips so they see it beforehand. Like, hey, here's the look. What do you like now you're up. Hey, Jay, what would you run right here? What route are you thinking, Victor? And I wanted them to tell me what they were doing rather than me always being, this is what you should do. This is what you should do. This is what you should do. Hey, give me your thoughts. How are you going to set this up? And so I think it's kind of giving them that freedom, but also, just having that communication, between them and me, or you're on the same page. I did the same thing with the offensive line and the center. Like the quarterback and center have a lot of communication on different calls you can make to pick things up.
And when you play, were you nervous? And do you like being nervous? And also, what makes you nervous now? I want to know that.
I think nervous, I would say you get, like for me, I would be nervous if I went into something very unprepared. That's how I would think of nervous. So I don't remember going into games being nervous because I think I was always very prepared. You might be excited. You might have the butterflies. You play in Super Bowls. You play in playoff games. Like there's an excitement. And I think someone talked to me one time, and whether it's true or not, but I kept it, and I've told other people this. Like those butterflies are good. That means you care about what you're doing. Like you're passionate. You have worked hard. Like you truly care about this for yourself, for your teammates, for your fans. Like it means something. So embrace those butterflies. Yeah. That's not nervous. That's excitement. That's like you're excited to be in this moment. So embrace it. And so like all of a sudden when I got the butterflies, I'm like, all right, that's good. Like that's a good feeling. And so when
do you get it today?
It's hard to find those. Yeah, it's hard to find.
I feel like every
butterflies.
time I do something these days, it's like, I get a little nervous, but it's never gonna be like that.
Yeah, right.
The way it used to be. the amount of pressure and expectations.
What about when you play music or
play music? Yes, if I go on stage,
it's
new,
it's
right?
the same thing.
Yeah,
it's like it's
new.
you. If you screw up, people are gonna see it. They'll already notice.
That's when it's better
Public
to be in a
speaking.
band.
Public speaking.
Because when you're in a full band, you can't really hear when you mess up. If you
Right.
play acoustic, then everybody will hear it.
Right. Yeah.
So-
Public speaking. I mean, that would be it.
Yeah.
Like I do, I do some of it, but it's more like a Q&A. Like that. Like someone asks you a question, I can come up with an answer. But if you're just up there and like, hey, 45 minutes by yourself,
Go.
good luck.
Yeah.
Make me laugh. Make me tell me something interesting, and you gotta like control the flow of it.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah. It's funny. I know you're rushing ahead because you didn't want Eli to ask you the same question back.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah.
But on the communication thing, I bet this guy said you could basically count the number of words he said in his whole NHL career in the locker room on one hand.
Is that right?
Like you were not a vocal guy. In the locker room.
I mean, I did speak up. I did.
About what?
Yeah.
About what? Well, a lot of times when things need to be addressed, I definitely was one of the guys, and it grew over time. But it's sometimes as a goalie too. It's a very unique position where you're doing your own thing. So guys, like you have to massage it a little bit. How much can you?
You're like the kicker.
Yeah.
On a football team. Very important.
Very important.
Very important. It come up big.
Yeah.
It win some big games for us.
Laces
but-
out. Hey. Laces out.
Yeah, no, but I did obviously over time get very comfortable talking, and thinking back, I think I was pretty demanding. Like I set.
How about on the
The
ice,
bar-
though? I mean,
On
obviously,
the ice, no.
Yeah.
That was very hard to talk because it was, I think, during a game, the time to talk for players is on the bench, obviously. Maybe quick ones before a face-off or, right in front of the net, you try to direct guys.
Yeah.
But in terms of in the locker room, I would say, actually, Jay, I was pretty vocal.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But...
Would you say you're more of a lead by example, though? I mean, don't you think just the fact that like people saw your focus, your dedication, your commitment, and I mean they want to play hard because they know how important it is for you.
I was pretty intense,
Yeah.
like in terms of how I prepared, and I think people could kind of see it in my eyes a little bit, how the intensity, and I was the guy that like stay away from him
Yeah.
in preparation and during the game, but it's just thinking back of how intense it was. Obviously, it's such a big change in lifestyle.
Yeah.
Not to have that. When we talked about what do you miss about the game, like I miss that pressure and expectation and people counting on you. Like that's something that, watching the Rangers today, and then when they do well, and then like you remember that feeling sitting in that locker room, being under that pressure and deliver, like that feeling, that excitement is something that I miss.
Have you found anything else that you can compete in? I just feel like since I retired, like I want to compete in anything. Like my wife's got me in playing tennis, or I played golf, and I'll play pickleball or paddle. Like I miss the competition, and from practice was a competition for us. So it wasn't just game day.
Yeah,
it was every day.
Every day was competition, right? One-on-one with your teammates or whatever it was. And I love tennis. So
There we go.
I would say that's my thing.
We got a match then.
We got a match. Are you a good tennis player?
I don't know if I'm good. I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Nobody's showing their cards here.
I bet you have a massive
Hit
serve.
it hard.
Just-
I'm working on it. But I
How
like
many
it.
years have you played, you said?
Tennis? Just like 3 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you've been
Oh,
playing.
I bet.
You've been
I
playing
mean-
for a long time. So you're good.
I would say last 10 years,
Okay.
like summertime. It's
Yeah.
kind of my go-to workouts. Because the
agree.
way you move on the tennis court is kind of similar to goaltending, like side to side, low gravity. So I felt like it was very good for my body and preparing for the ice. But I love the one-on-one too. It was kind of like facing a breakaway a little bit.
No
It's
doubt.
a mind game too.
Yeah, I like the one-on-one. I played the doubles, but I feel like my wife's yelling at me. I'm not in the right spot, or like a lot going on. We're one-on-one. It's just like hit it over the net.
I can
run
get this
around,
at home. Yeah,
I get to
yell at
cover
me.
the whole. Yeah, she was like the first year we were playing. It was the first year I retired, and she plays a bunch. And we're playing mixed doubles, and she would always like, any ball up in the air, I was like trying to kill everything, and I was like bumping her out of the way so I could spike it, and she was like looking at me like, what's wrong with you? Like,
That's amazing.
What are you doing?
But playing like football, you come from a football family. Like, how has that helped you throughout your career? But also, I want to know, because I have a twin brother. So, I mean, I was a goalie, he was a center, so we never really competed against each other. It was always support. But for you, for example, playing against Peyton.
Yeah.
Like, did you see him as a supporter or a competitor?
Well, I only played against Peyton 3 times. Thanks for bringing it up. I'm 0 for 3.
0 for 3. Oh no,
yeah.
I didn't know that actually.
No, but in similar, the fact that we both played the same position, and he's 5 years older than me, so we never competed against each other growing up. We were never on opposing teams in high school, in little league, and in college. It wasn't until the NFL, and only 3 times in our career. So it was definitely a support system. We were in different conferences, different divisions. And so, when we were playing similar opponents, like I would call him, hey, Peyton, y'all played this team earlier in the year, send me your notes.
Yeah.
And vice versa. So we're sharing notes, we're sharing ideas. We, totally would, I would rush home after games. If we were playing the 1 o'clock, he was playing the 4 o'clock to like try to get home to watch the second half of his games. And so, we definitely looked out for each other. It was 100%, percent support, and which is cool, because it's like there's not many people in the world I could talk to about football that understood it to the level that I did. I might have my best friend in the world, I might have my wife, and you can talk about certain things, but I can't say, hey, we were running double seam, they brought a Mike Sam zone blitz, playing blitz 3, the defensive end kind of jammed the slot, so I got out to my pivot route on the outside, and like y'all would be like, what? no idea what you're talking about. But like, I have a brother, we speak like the same language, and there's 50 people in the world that speak that language, and you got one that's your best friend, and your brother is pretty cool, special. And you can share those ideas.
Have you played him in tennis?
I've played him in pickleball.
Yeah.
I've not played him in tennis. I don't think he'd be good at tennis.
No?
He's like a big lug.
To me, it's as much as we supported each other, when we faced each other, there was no bigger game.
Right.
Like, I need to beat him.
Yeah.
Like, if it's hockey, yes, but also in skiing or soccer or tennis.
Yeah.
I've smashed a lot of tennis rackets in my days playing my brother, but I would say I can beat him today, but we'll see this summer.
I would say that. I would say, like, in other sports, we'd be super competitive, like basketball. Growing up, we played a little basketball against each other, or like if we played basketball now, like there'd be some elbows, and there'd be someone would be crying, someone would be bleeding. Maybe not crying anymore. When we were little, there was a cry. Yeah. Now it's moved to a bleeding. But in football, I think it was so much support that it never got super competitive. And again, we were never on the field at the same time. So it wasn't like that one-on-one.
Right.
It's like our team was just playing his team.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking about like how you live your life. It's very busy. You're traveling, you do shows and football and family, and like your life today, like when you come to the city, for example, people recognize you pretty much everywhere you go. Have you embraced all that, or do you try to escape it at times? And if you do, what do you do?
I think I've embraced it. I think there's just, there's certain spots that are better than others. Like in the city, I'm not trying to hide. I'm walking around town. It's kind of refreshing just to be, the energy of New York is awesome, and being around. Now, if I'm in like a shopping mall or an airport, I'm gonna hide a little bit. I'm not embracing like, hey, here I am, because then you're kind of like stuck there.
Yeah. I love the hats.
A big hat guy. I'm still in through the airport. I'm the only guy wearing a mask still. Like I'm going incognito. I'll be wearing that thing for another 5 years. It's like the greatest, greatest deal in the world. Like no one recognizes me.
That's your Chad Powers.
Yeah, exactly. But just because all of a sudden you're sitting there and like if one person asks for a picture, then it's like, oh, hey, he's taking pictures over there. It's like a line, and I'm like, this is miserable. Yeah. So, but besides that, I think I embrace it. I think I look at it in the way, if they want a picture or someone wants to hang out or say hi, like that's pretty cool. You're not going to have that forever. It's better than them saying, "Oh, there's the guy that screwed up," or "There's the bust over there." No one wants his autograph.
But I don't know how you feel, but for me, like being in the city, yeah, people might recognize me here and there, but I really enjoy. First of all, New Yorkers are pretty cool about it. Like they acknowledge and then they move on.
Right.
They're too busy and there's too much going on, so they might acknowledge you and then
they just like say as you're walking by, they're like, "Hey, Henrik, what's up?" And they're off.
It's like I don't have time. Like
we love you.
Yeah. But would you say that coming to the city, and also how much time do you spend here? But do you enjoy it and what's the best part?
Yeah, I definitely enjoy the city. I think I've gone through stages of it. Like when I was, a young player here, my first, I don't know what it was. Like my first 7-8 years, I was, married or just getting married, no kids, and so you're coming to the city for dinner, hanging out with your teammates. You're going to Butter and going to 10 June, level V, seeing Eugene at level V, just a call out right there. And, go to those spots. Like those are fun moments. And then you kind of get married, you stop doing some of that, you go to the dinners and you're going to Nobu or Gotham City and Camp Magnolia and like great, restaurants and scenes, or going to Broadway. And then I feel like I took a little break with the young kids. We kind of moved out suburbs of New Jersey. I wasn't coming in, and now coming in a lot more for work stuff, going to dinners, kind of bringing my kids in to go see musicals and see plays. So it's just like
Butter.
It just has so much to offer. Like whatever, that's a great thing about it. Like whatever you're into at the time, there's something for you, and it's just finding it. But just I try. Love coming in here, staying for a long weekend and bring the kiddos and like just have them see everything that it has to offer.
Is the plan to stick around in this area?
Yeah, we're gonna stay in New Jersey where we are. We've been in our town for about 8 years and just made our roots here.
Yeah.
And I think that was important when I came to the Giants. You wanted to be a part of the community and be a part of kind of whether it's the city or wherever you're living, and you have kids and you make friends and like you've built this life. And when I retired, I remember we talked about with my wife, and she's from Nashville, I'm from New Orleans, and we thought about going down south. And I was like, I feel like we'd be starting all over. Like we've built this life. There's things what we do for the summer and what we do in the winter, and their activities and their sports and their friends. We'd be starting all over, and we might not like it there. Like we like it here. What are we chasing? Like what are we after?
I think New York kind of picks you. It's different because some people approach a stint in the city like, I just got to survive this. Right. Like if I can do this for a couple of years, I can check the box and say that I've, had played a couple seasons here, or I worked at this company for a couple of years, and I can say I did it. But in other people, like you get chosen, like this becomes your center,
Mm-hmm.
Hank, early in your career, he was always like, we're good friends, but like eventually I'm going to move back to Sweden.
Sure.
I was like, oh, great. That's fine. So this is a temporary thing. But over time, right? It's changed for you too.
Yeah. I mean, you over time, of course, you get more and more connected and it's funny you talk about the different phases in life. How we came here young and starting something new and you start exploring a certain way, and then you have family, kids, and you turn into a new phase, right?
Yeah.
And now next phase is I'm gonna stop calling it retirement, but it's more the next chapter.
That's loser talk.
It's new things.
You're
it's
just
a new
not playing
way
hockey anymore. You're not retired.
That's right.
It's time to do different things. But it's funny, you think about also how you explore the city and how that has changed over time. When you look at how old we were, but also family, kids, and how we prioritize our time. But saying that, like I want to know for you now, like how far ahead do you plan your life? We talked early on the show about we knew every week, like Monday I do this, Tuesday I do that, and down the road I'm going to do that. I want to achieve that. But like now, everything is so open in a way. So how far down the road do you look?
Yeah, I try not to look too far down the road. I think it's still, I'm still kind of experimenting with what I want to do in this next chapter. And I think I'm getting a little better idea. It's, kind of going into the third year of it now. But I mean, when I retired, I had no idea there would be a job available where I could sit on my own couch, watch football, and make fun of my brother, and they'd pay me for it. But that job didn't exist, and then now it does. And now I'm like, wow, okay, well now this is available. This is a pretty good gig that I got. I got to do that for Monday Night Football and do it with my brother and call games. And so, you're kind of finding these opportunities, and you're like, all right, well, this is a good one. I want to keep doing this. This other one maybe I was doing, that seems so good anymore. And so it's just kind of phasing some things out and keep doing the things you enjoy doing. And so I think just kind of, finding that happy medium. It's all, I think, your kids make a big impact on that. There's times where, hey, you're just needed more, or if they get into, playing high school sports and they're, traveling all around, then you got to cut some back and be around them. And I just think, I know my dad made a lot of decisions and could have gotten into some broadcasting and calling games. And he said no to a lot of things because he wanted to be around his kids and be around us a lot. And so I know that, and having I didn't know it at the time, but I see it now. And so, I'm trying to make some of those, same decisions. I think it's important for me to be around my kids and their sports and their activities, especially every weekend. During the week, I got to travel some, or you got to move around. We're kind of on it, but during the weekends, I need to be home.
But it's funny how fast they get used to your new way of living. For years, I was pretty much gone every other day.
Yeah.
Even at home games, I was gone because I was preparing for the game. And so, you missed a lot of time. And now I have an opportunity to be around them a lot more. So now when I tell them, you know what, I need to travel, I'm going away for a day or two. And they're shocked.
Yeah, they're
what? Why are you leaving? I mean, I can't be home with you all the time. I actually have to do things. Yeah. I don't have to do things, but I want to do things, right? Yeah. But it's just funny how quickly kids get used to, I remember when I was playing and they reached a certain age and, they were crying we don't want you to leave. And the tough one was when you were gone for 3-4 days, came home just for a day or two, and then you were leaving again. That was a tough one.
Yeah.
But just how quickly they got used to this way of living now. The last 2 years, I've been home a lot more, and it's picking up a little bit with all the things I'm doing. But it's it's a luxury to have now. It's choosing when to go and what to go for, and back to how we prioritize our time.
It's got to be great doing stuff like with MSG. You're like home. You can go do work, and you're not having to travel or leave. That's why I do some stuff with the Giants. You came on the show, but you can kind of pick the times you do it when it works kind of for everybody.
Absolutely.
Here's a day I'm free. Let's come in and have a little drink and talk New York, and that's pretty cool. I mean, I think that's the great thing, is trying to find those types of things that that you enjoy doing. It keeps you local, kind of keeps you're able to do something you really enjoy, but also, hey, I'm gonna be home at 6:00 and be able to have dinner with the family and help with some 6th grade math, which is blowing my mind. I have to study up on that just to prepare to make sure my daughter doesn't think I'm an idiot.
I know you have a flight to catch. Really appreciate you coming on the show. Before you go, one more question.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you haven't done so far that you want to do in life?
I think there's some traveling, I never didn't do, hardly any traveling growing up. And Joe, when I was the last years, just, took some cool trips to a beach or Caribbean or some places like that. But would love to go to Africa, would love to go to New Zealand, would love to travel into Europe more and do some things like that. Just, it's this thing I just, when I was playing, I didn't want to take that much time. I was like, I can't leave for 10 days. It'll screw me up, and I couldn't afford to let loose for that long. But now, and then you had young kids. It was tough. And now my kids are kind of getting better, where we can take, I think, some cool trips down the road. So,
nice. What about you, Hank? What do you got?
What do you got
this year?
This, you know what? To me, I really changed from achieving to just enjoy my time and find happiness, be happy as much as I can. Living. I mean, I love traveling. I meeting people. I realized playing team sports too. You kind of get spoiled having so many great people around you all the time, and I don't know if we took it for granted, but it's something that I really prioritize now to make sure I keep having great people around me. I think that's like, one of my goals.
Yeah, I think like creating memories, that's like, and I think that's part of it. It's like living, doing fun things. I think I missed out on so much, which was great. I loved what I was doing, but you kind of didn't do some things, said no to a lot of things, or now get to say yes to a few more things.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because earlier, in this new chapter, you're going to have to learn how to say no a lot more, but in a different way.
Right.
Because you have an easy excuse when you're playing.
Yeah. But now practice. I got a game. Right. Yeah, everybody knew.
But now the art is to say no to things where you just need yourself or your family or whatever that is, because there's always, especially in this city, there's always a thread to pull out.
No doubt.
Right.
No doubt.
And we're so happy you didn't say no to Club 30.
Yeah, that's true.
So, thanks for having me on.
Great to see you again, Eli.
Appreciate it. Cheers, guys.
Cheers,
a lot of fun.
Cheers.
Thank you, Henrik.
That was great. Thank you so much, Eli. Really enjoyed that conversation. And to all you listeners, thanks for tuning in to Club 30.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening. Please be sure to subscribe.